The first few weeks of Trump's presidency have been dominated by his signing of a raft of executive orders. Each seismographic Sharpie signature appeared to transform America before our eyes, from withdrawing the country from the Paris Climate Agreement and the World Health Organization to granting pardons to the January the 6th rioters. But what are executive orders? And how is Trump going to use them to challenge the checks and balances that have preserved American democracy since its inception? First things first. An executive order is not a new law. Only Congress can make laws. Instead, an executive order is a directive from the president to the federal government, telling agencies how to enforce existing laws or manage government operations. Think of it like a company boss telling their employees how to do their jobs. The president is the boss of the executive branch, which includes agencies like the FBI, the EPA, and the military. They don't make new laws, but they can decide how to enforce them. So, what sort of things can presidents do with executive orders? Here are a few examples. As Commander-in-Chief, they can direct the military. They can set rules for federal workers. They can change immigration policy. And they can manage foreign policy. But they can't make laws. However, executive orders have been one of the methods by which modern presidents have continually pushed to expand their power. And they've been able to do this because the Constitution is a bit vague. When writing the Constitution in 1787, the founders wanted three things. First, the office of the president should be strong, able to enforce the laws passed by Congress and manage the country's day-to-day affairs. Second, the president should be able to act quickly, especially in times of crisis, without having to wait for Congress. This is especially important in matters of national defence, and this is why the president has authority over the military. And finally, the president should not be able to make laws. That is Congress's job. It's the separation of power that prevents any one branch of government from becoming too dominant. These principles came to be enshrined in Article 2 of the Constitution, which states the executive power shall be vested in a President of the United States, and the President shall take care that the laws be faithfully executed. These clauses gave the President the executive power they believed necessary to ensure the smooth functioning of the country. They can act quickly within the law without Congress. But when they gave the President this executive power, they didn't define how that power should be used, and so different presidents began to interpret it more broadly as they faced new challenges. As America grew into a larger and more diverse nation, the government had to handle a whole host of new issues, from infrastructure development and economic regulation to social reforms. But a bigger country meant Congress had more and more voices and opinions. So just when the country needed quick decisions, Congress was getting slower and slower. And so presidents started relying increasingly on executive orders to bypass the gridlock. By the time of Franklin D. Roosevelt, these orders had become much more formalized as a tool for the president. In his 4 terms as president, he faced not only the Great Depression, but also the Second World War. And so to quickly respond to these challenges, he issued more than 3,700 executive orders during his time in office. This set the pattern for the future, increasing the power of the presidency. And with Congress ever slower and more divided along party lines, presidents started using executive orders to push policies that Congress, at least initially, wouldn't pass. And by the modern era, this has really become the norm, with presidents using executive orders to act quickly on their priorities without waiting for legislative approval. But despite the huge power these executive orders give the president, they don't let them do anything they want. They can't break the law or violate the Constitution, and if Congress doesn't like what the president is doing, then it can pass a law or cut funding. They also can't apply to private citizens or state governments. And as powerful as these squiggles of a pen appear to be, because they cannot create laws, using them to enact big policy changes is like building a house on sand. They can be simply undone with another executive order. And so what has resulted is a kind of tit for tat, with successive presidents destroying each other's work again and again and again. Trump, however, is going further. He and his aides have long argued that Article 2 of the Constitution has been read too narrowly, that the President in fact has powers over budget and personnel in the executive branch, as well as over foreign policy, and he can use these powers more expansively. And so he's been using executive orders far more aggressively. His executive order to end birthright citizenship in the US directly violates the 14th Amendment, and a federal judge has already put a temporary block on it. A law banning TikTok was passed by Congress, but Trump used an executive order to delay its enforcement. It appears that his tactic is to breeze past laws and then wait to see what happens in the courts. And with the conservative Supreme Court, which includes 3 members Trump appointed in his first term, maybe he bets that it will side with him. And if it does, then the checks and balances that have defined America's government could give way, with the future of American democracy altered forever. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you enjoy our journalism, please do consider clicking that subscribe button and ringing that notification bell as well.